of Tampa too.
Mr. President, we're ready to go. We're recording.
Ready to go? Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. This meeting is being held remotely as a meeting with a quorum of the public body physically present is not practical or prudent due to the state's declaration of a disaster due to the impacts of COVID-19. I'd like to confirm that all participants can hear, and a reminder that all motions need to be passed by a roll call vote. Can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Oh. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States
of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under
under
God,
God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice
for all.
Okay, Megan, would you call the roll, please?
Trustee Messick?
Here.
Trustee Kufira is absent. Trustee Lautner?
Here.
Trustee Zora? Here. Trustee Seidel? Here. And President DeCipio?
Here.
A quorum is present, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. Okay, so the first item on the agenda is the appointment of Karen Council to the village board. Mike Sheets submitted his resignation as village trustee on October 8th, 2020, resulting in the vacancy on the village board. Given the length of time remaining in the term, subsection 3.1-10-50E of the Illinois Municipal Code requires that the village president appoint a qualified person to fill this vacancy within 60 days from the date on which the vacancy occurs. I submit the name of Karen Council to the village board for its consideration to fill the remaining term of the vacant trustee position that expires in May 2021. Karen has been an active volunteer in the LaGrange Park community, having served on numerous boards and committees. She was an active volunteer with the local caucus since 1998. She served on the village's zoning board of appeals for 10 years, from 2001 to 2011. Karen assisted with various activities and programs with School District 102 and LaGrange Park Little League. She is a resident of LaGrange Park of more than 29 years. Karen has a bachelor's degree in organized communication from Loyola University and a post-baccalaureate certificate in paralegal studies from Roosevelt University. Karen was recently selected by LaGrange Park Community Caucus as a candidate for village trustee for the April 6, 2021 consolidated election. I'd like to entertain a motion. If one trustee would care to make a motion for me, please.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Karen Council to serve as village trustee for the remaining term expiring in 2021.
Second. I have a motion and a second discussion. I've known Karen many years. She is enthusiastic about her community. She's volunteered a lot of her time, along with Rob, for the betterment of LaGrange Park. She's been on the zoning board. She's been involved with the village in numerous activities. She'd be an excellent addition to our village board, and I support Karen Council. Any other comments from any trustees?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I concur. Karen has been a tireless advocate of our village, has been involved in every aspect of it, from caucus to zoning board to, well, frankly, for those of us back when we used to have, it seems like 100 years ago, when we used to have actual meetings in the boardroom, Karen and her husband are often the only two people sitting there. She's very involved in the village, knows what's going on, and a tireless advocate for the village, and I fully support this.
Trustee Lautner?
Thank you, Mr. President, and I certainly would concur with Trustee Messick's comments. When I think about Karen Council, I immediately think about the multiple hours that she has spent contributing to the betterment of this community, and in various areas, and also to echo Trustee trustee Messick's comments about attendance at board meetings. Many, many times she and her husband were the only ones in attendance, and I think that her contributions and her involvement in this board, I think, will serve for the betterment of our community. So I heartily support her appointment.
Thank you, Trustee Lautner. Trustee Seidel?
I concur with my fellow trustees. Firsthand, I think we all know how wonderful Karen is, and she will truly be an asset to the village board. She has showed dedication on everything she has done and been involved in every aspect. She's willing to walk doors and go above and beyond for referendums and anything we need her help with in the village. So it will be a great asset to have her on the board.
Thank you, Trustee Seidel. Trustee Zora?
Thank you. I'm going to kind of echo what everyone else said, but Karen has been very active in our village for decades, and she really cares about Grange Park, so I think she'd definitely be an asset to the board.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor. Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Messick?
Sorry, I was muted.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Trustee Seidel?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Megan, would you please do the swearing in?
Yes. Karen, if you could please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Karen Council. I, Karen Council. Hereby solemnly swear. Hereby solemnly swear. That I will uphold and defend. That I will uphold and defend. The Constitution of the United States of America. The Constitution of the United States of America. And the Constitution of the State of Illinois. And the Constitution of the State of Illinois. And will faithfully carry out all duties. And will faithfully carry out all duties. Imposed upon and entrusted in me. Imposed upon and entrusted in me. As trustee of the Village of Grange Park. As trustee of the Village of Grange Park. Congratulations. Thank you.
Congratulations, Karen.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your kind words, and especially to my longtime friend, Trustee Messick. We have known each other for close to 25 years, and we've always had a really good friendship. I would like to also thank Trustee Lautner. Bob's kind of the go-to when I need to talk to somebody and say, hey, what do you think about this? Or, hey, what do you think about that? And I'm really looking forward to being on the board while Trustee Lautner is still part of the board. I absolutely have to thank President DeCipio. Not only is he a mentor, he's a really good friend, and I don't think that a day goes by that we're not in some way able to communicate with each other. If there's an emergency, I pick up the phone and say, hey, I need some help, or hey, what's going on? So I'd really like to thank President DeCipio for even bringing me forward. And I'm really looking forward to the new seated trustees in the upcoming election. So thanks for all of your kind words, Jamie. I appreciate that very much.
Karen, congratulations. We're looking forward to you serving on the board. So get back safe.
Okay, thanks. I will.
Congratulations, Karen.
Thank you very much.
I've always wanted to do, and here it is.
Yes, it's been a long time coming. I can't even remember.
It's probably going to be one of the greatest rides you'll ever take.
I hope so. I'm up for the challenge.
Well, look at your screen and see all the wonderful people you're going to be working with. Yeah.
I'm very happy about that. Thank you.
Bless to you.
Okay, Chief. Swearing in and paid on-call fire personnel. Chief Magus?
Good evening.
I'm sorry, Chief. Did you want me to read it?
Whatever you would prefer, Mr. President. If you want to go ahead, that would be fine. And then whatever you need from me, let me know.
No, go ahead. You do it. It's your gig.
Okay. Tonight we just want to congratulate a number of personnel due to COVID-19. We had a number of firefighters, 3 of them come off of probation over the last few months. And as most of you know, we usually swear people in and actually do a badge pinning ceremony at the village board meeting. We've held off with this, hoping things would get better. Obviously they haven't. So what we'd like to do tonight is, it'll be slightly out of order, is swear in our firefighters that have passed their probationary requirements. And then after that, swear in our officers. We also had a number of promotions within the last couple of months in the fire department. So moving forward, our firefighters, I will just quick read the board memo that was presented. The fire department has had probationary firefighters complete their requirements to pass their probationary period. Due to the ongoing pandemic, they have not been formally recognized. As such, and in light of the current situation regarding the pandemic, we ask that they be recognized and officially sworn in virtually at the board meeting this evening. Again, we will have an official ceremony to take place in person at a later date when it can be. As noted, each of the following paid on-call firefighters has successfully completed their probationary period requirements and testing. Each has completed the Basic Operations Fire Academy, becoming state certified firefighters, and also completing emergency medical services training, and they are licensed EMTBs. They've also been tested on general knowledge of policies, standard operating guidelines, apparatus, and equipment, and passed the practical driving and pumping test for each of our fire apparatus. Each of the following personnel were hired as candidates in July of 2018. First of all, firefighter Matt Holmes, who lives with his wife and children on Maple Avenue, is currently assigned to Fire Station 2. Firefighter Marissa McDermott lives with her family on Raymond and is also currently assigned to Fire Station 2. And firefighter Charlie Porter lives with his wife and children on Robin Hood Lane and is currently assigned to Fire Station 1. If you don't mind, Madam Clerk, if you could go ahead and swear those personnel in. I think we modified the swearing in or the oath, so they would just have to acknowledge at the end of the oath. And if any of them have not shown up on the screen yet, if you can join by video, that would be great. I see Marissa there. There's Matt Holmes up in my upper right, and then who are we missing? Charlie Porter, if he's around here. Okay, there he is. So those are our 3 firefighters. They've worked hard over the last 2+ years, and we welcome them aboard in passing their probationary period.
Megan?
Thanks. Yep. Okay, everyone, so what I'll do is I'll read the oath of office, and each of you can attest by saying "I do" at the end. If you can please raise your right hand. Do you hereby solemnly swear that you will uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and faithfully carry out all the duties imposed upon and entrusted in you in your appointed position within the fire department of the Village of LaGrange Park, Cook County, Illinois? If so, say "I do."
I do.
Congratulations, everybody.
Marissa, Matt, and Charlie, congratulations.
Thank you. Great. And again, we hope to do a more formal ceremony at a later date where we can have everybody present, including family members, and at least do the badge pinning. So thank you, and you all did a lot of hard work to get to this point. Next, we'd like to swear in paid on-call fire officers, and I'll read the memo. Recently, there have been several promotions in the fire department. Due to the current situation, again, with the ongoing pandemic,
We would like that they be recognized tonight at the virtual village board meeting with, again, an official ceremony to take place at a later date. This past September 1st, as part of the department reorganization plan, 3 of our lieutenants were promoted to the rank of captain. Each are very deserving of such. Captain John Seneca has been with our department since August of 1996. Among other duties, he supervises our fire department training program. He lives with his wife and child on Kemen and works full-time with employment as a supervising diesel mechanic for a nationwide commercial truck rental company. Captain Jim Gruska has been with our department since August of 1990. Among other duties, he supervises Fire Station 2 and is heavily involved in fire prevention. He lives with his wife on Meadowcrest, is retired from his full-time employment with Bosch and Broadview, and currently also operates his own repair person business. Also, Captain Steve Tullis initially began employment with our department in July of 2002. Among other duties, he supervises Fire Station 1 and will supervise Emergency Medical Services Program. He lives with his wife and children on Sherwood and is employed full-time as a lieutenant with the Hinsdale Fire Department. In addition to the September captain promotions, over the last couple of weeks, the fire department conducted a testing and evaluation process for paid-on-call fire lieutenant candidates. All of the candidates did very well, all of them that were involved. Firefighter paramedic John Fagan ended up scoring at the top of the list. As such, and as there is an open position, he has been promoted to paid-on-call fire lieutenant effective yesterday, November 23rd. John began his employment at the LaGrange Park Fire Department in July of 2000. So he's been here just over 20 years. He currently resides on Oak Avenue with his wife and children and is employed full-time as a lieutenant with the Oak Brook Fire Department. So if you can go ahead and swear them in.
Again, I'll read the oath of office, and each of you can attest by saying "I do" at the end. If you could please raise your right hand. Do you hereby solemnly swear that you will uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and faithfully carry out all the duties imposed upon and entrusted in you in your appointed position within the Fire Department of the Village of LaGrange Park, Cook County, Illinois? If so, say "I do."
I do. I do. Congratulations.
Congratulations, guys.
Yeah, and as you've heard, they have all put in a great number of years, which is very hard to do in a paid-on-call department, trying to maintain their home life and take on additional responsibilities in addition to their full-time job. Honestly, it was great to get to this point, to actually make these promotions, which in some ways have been put off or modified over the years. So it's great to have them aboard and in new positions, and we look forward to their leadership with our department. So again, thank you and congratulations to each of them.
Thank you, Chief. And John and Jim and John and Steve, congratulations and thank you for all that you do for our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Public participation, agenda-related items only. Would anyone care to address the board? Seeing none, we'll move on to consent agenda. Megan?
Thank you, Mr. President. The items on this evening's consent agenda are as follows. A, approval of minutes. 1, village board meeting, October 27th, 2020. 2, village board work session, November 10th, 2020. 3, village board executive session, November 10th, 2020. B, action, fiscal year 2021, sewer cleaning and televising. Edwin Hancock engineering agreement. Motion to approve and authorize the village manager to execute agreements between the Village of LaGrange Park and Edwin Hancock Engineering for engineering services in amount not to exceed $7,500 for design and construction engineering for the 2020-2021 sewer cleaning and televising program. B, action, fiscal year 2021 sewer lining program, Edwin Hancock engineering agreement. Motion to approve and authorize the village manager to execute agreements between the Village of LaGrange Park and Edwin Hancock Engineering for engineering services in an amount not to exceed $32,000 for design and construction engineering for the 2020-2021 sewer lining program. D, action, authorization to destroy executive session recordings, and the motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the destruction of certain verbatim records of closed meetings. E, action, notice of annual schedule of regular meetings, motion to approve a resolution approving the annual schedule of regular meeting dates for 2021. F, action, motion to authorize the president and chairperson of the finance committee to sign the register for bills and authorize the treasurer and village clerk to sign checks in payment of operating bills and salaries as itemized in the check registers. G, action, motion to authorize the village treasurer and village clerk to sign checks in the payment of payroll and other bills that become due between this date and the next village board meeting, with subsequent approval of the payroll register and voucher register by the Board of Trustees at its next meeting.
Motion to approve the consent agenda is presented.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. Megan, call the roll.
Sorry about that. Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Trustee Seidel?
Yes.
Trustee Consul?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. Moving on, village manager's report. Julia?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have just 3 brief items to report on this evening. The first, I just wanted to extend my congratulations to our new paid-on-call firefighters, as well as those folks that were promoted to captain and lieutenant. Congratulations. Secondly, I wanted to make mention of special kudos and congratulations and recognize the police officers that worked to secure charges related to the home invasion. That was very good police work. Thank you, Steve Contois, and all the folks in the police department. So I just wanted to make sure that I made mention of that. Finally, my last item that I wanted to report on is in the next couple of days, Chief Magus will be sending out an email to the village trustees that will include a form that needs to be completed in coordination with emergency management activities. So if you would, please look out for this email from Chief Magus, and when you receive it, please get the form completed and back to Village Hall. You can get it back to Dean or myself, and that would be absolutely fine. But again, please watch your emails for that from Chief Magus. And with that, that concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Julia. Okay, moving on to Administration Committee. Trustee Seidel?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a few items on the administration report for this evening. Village Hall is currently closed to foot traffic. As a result of the recently released advisories issued by the state and county, and out of an abundance of caution, Village Hall will be closed to walk-in traffic beginning Wednesday, November 18th. Village staff will remain at work and available via telephone at 708-354-0225. Staff is still here for you. While the doors may be closed, staff is in the office and available to answer your questions via phone or email at info@lagrangepark.org. Drop boxes are available in the foyer of Village Hall 24 hours a day. The drop box will accommodate building permits and all other village business. Residents are encouraged to use the village's many online services and to conduct business through the remote options at www.lagrangepark.org. Tree lighting ceremony. Due to the recently released advisories from the state and county regarding an increase in COVID-19 cases in our region, the annual tree lighting ceremony will go virtual this year. All are invited to join us from the warmth of your home for the lighting of the official village holiday tree at Memorial Park on Friday, December 4th. The lighting of the tree will be filmed and shared via Facebook and other outlets. Watch for updates in the community e-brief and on our website. Community e-brief. The village, would like to encourage residents to stay connected with what is happening in LaGrange Park by signing up for Community eBrief, our weekly electronic newsletter that is emailed out each Friday. The village currently has over 2,200 subscribers. Residents may sign up for eBrief by going to the homepage of the village's website at www.lagrangepark.org. Happy Thanksgiving. Staff at Village Hall would like to wish our residents a happy and safe Thanksgiving holiday. This year especially as we find innovative ways to celebrate with our extended families. And that concludes the administration report for this evening.
Thank you, Trustee Seidel. Building and Zoning Committee, Trustee Zora.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to report the building department activities for October of 2020. 130 building permits were issued in October compared to 97 last October. 855 permits have been issued so far this year compared to 773 last year. Estimated construction costs for the month were just under $1.5 million, up significantly, about 84% compared to October 2019. Permit fees collected for the month were nearly $32,000, approximately 29% more than October last year. 158 inspections were conducted in October compared to 173 last October. 12 were not approved. Staff conducted 1,167 inspections, which is about the same as conducted last year. Final approval and occupancy was completed for a new home at 624 Edgewood Avenue. Landscaping was installed in front of Court Pagan Spirits. Final building and health inspections took place for Enos during the month. They were not approved. The village is waiting for plans and timing on opening. Rosario, our code enforcement officer from Safe Built, was trained on a new BS&A building code enforcement software. Property maintenance matters are now tracked in the new software. Patrick met with the owner of Alpha Auto. After making some modifications to try to get more business, he decided to remove the car wash. He will most likely convert that bay to oil changes and tire work. Staff completed work on verifying zoning concerns related to the conversion of a playhouse structure at the home of 300 Block North Spring into a garage. As such, staff issued the permit and work has begun. Staff has been working to get additional information on timing for progress of a new storage facility at 1201 Barnesdale as the project has remained stagnant. There still does not appear to be a solid timeline. After obtaining additional information, staff has issued the permit and the tent was installed at Post 31. And that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Zora. Engineering capital projects, Trustee Laudner, would you mind doing Trustee Gutierrez's report?
Not at all. Thank you, Mr. President. From this area this evening, 4 items to report upon. Construction on the 31st Street Water Main project is almost complete. The contractor, A-Lamp Concrete Contractors, finished installing the street patches across 31st Street and on the side streets. Siding was placed throughout the length of the project. A punch list was prepared and given to the contractor. Work on the punch list was started, and the project will be completed this construction season. Good news. Work on the Meadowcrest Road and Garfield Avenue resurfacing project has begun. The contractor, Schroeder Asphalt Services, has already removed and replaced sections of defective concrete curb and gutter, driveways, and sidewalks. Milling of the pavement patching, and asphalt resurfacing will be completed in November. The limits of the project are Meadowcrest Road between 31st Street and Jackson Avenue, and Garfield Road between Grange Road and Community Drive. On October 27th, the village publicly opened sealed bids for the 2020 MFT pavement patching program. 6 firms submitted bids for the project. The lowest responsible bidder was Chicagoland Paving. Pending the award of the contract, work on the project could begin in November and be completed by the end of the season. The scope of work includes the removal and replacement of defective areas of street pavement. And fourth and last from this area is design work for the Park Road Water Main project is continuing. The gathering and drafting of topographic survey information is underway. The project involves replacing an existing 6-inch water main with an 8-inch water main between Ogden Avenue and Harding Avenue. The scope of work entails reconnecting all water services to the new main, replacing disturbed sidewalks, driveways, and curbs, restoring the parkways, and patching the street. And that's the last item to report on from this area.
Thank you, Trustee Laudner. Moving on to your Safety, Trustee Langer.
Thank you again, Mr. President. And from the public safety area this evening, 2 reports and 1 item for discussion and action. First item is from the police department for the month. And to date, the total number of crimes this year are higher than last year, with 379 reported this year compared to 268 last year. The significant increase is due to the unlawful entry into unlocked vehicles, along with the unemployment benefit scams. Traffic enforcement is at 2,508 total tickets issued through October of 2020. Overall police activity is lower than last year, with 6,347 total incidents reported through October of 2020, as compared to 7,348 total incidents through October of 2019. Our chief attended the International Association of Chiefs of Police conference virtually due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Police department staff, in conjunction with the DEA, participated in the annual Drug Take Back Day on October 24th. The department collected over 200 pounds of expired or unused pharmaceutical drugs. And thanks to everyone who dropped off items for proper disposal. As a reminder, the police department has a drop-off box in the lobby available for residents during normal business hours. The police department is currently accepting completed applications for the creation of an eligibility list for full-time police officers. Packets can be picked up at the police department between 9 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Completed applications must be turned in by December 11th. And a friendly reminder, as always, about securing one's personal property at all times. Please lock your vehicles and residences, especially during overnight hours. If you are going on vacation, please utilize the new online vacation watch portal, frontlinepss.com/LaGrange Park, or log into the village website and access the portal under the police department page. If you don't have internet access, feel free to fill out a vacation watch card at the police department between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. And lastly, our men and women of our LaGrange Park Police Department would like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and to be safe. From the fire department area, public safety. Bear with me, I'll get there. EMS incidents this month were at 107. There have been 1,280 year-to-date compared to 1,244 year-to-date in 2019. Fire rescue incidents this month were at 45. There have been 428 year-to-date compared to 494 year-to-date in 2019. For Fire Prevention Week this year, due to COVID, the fire department distributed fire safety materials to all children in pre-K through 3rd grade. Our firefighters also created fire safety videos, which were very well done, by the way, and released them daily on Facebook, YouTube, and our village website. Staff conducted an acceptance test for a new fire alarm system installed throughout the condominium building located at 314 Beach. Firefighters, along with police department staff, and with money made available from the Orne Fire Insurance Board, removed the carpeting and installed new flooring in the Village Hall exercise room, and we thank them for their extra efforts. Staff participated in supplemental training for New World Fire Records. This is the main program utilized to submit the reports to the state for the National Fire Incident Reporting System. Staff met with the Finance Department in Over to discuss and review this year's ground emergency medical transport cost report, compiled mostly by Larry. This is a supplemental cost recovery program for EMS transports. Staff attended webinars and meetings held by IRMA and Loyola EMS related to preparing for and responding to civil unrest. Firefighter EMT B. Michaela Hubbard resigned from our department to accept a position from the Parksville, Tennessee Fire Department, and we wish her well. The fire chief, as the liaison of the Mavis 10 hazmat team, participated in response planning subcommittee meetings for pipeline emergencies occurring within our division. This will provide some local benefit as there is a 36-inch diameter natural gas pipeline that runs under our village. The fire chief participated in the Red Ribbon Week webinar, try to say that 3 times, hosted by LTHS on working together to raise drug-free teens. And 2 items noteworthy to report to the village. On the 10th of October, our fire department responded to Bill's place for an activated fire alarm, which upon arrival turned out to be a roof fire caused by roofers using a torch. Firefighters worked over an hour using saws and other tools, including thermal imagers, to locate and extinguish fire burning within the roof structure. And miraculously, the business reopened later that day, clear of all fire remnants. And on the 16th of October, an engine and chief responded to assist Brookfield with a full steel alarm involving an oversized garage and large RV on fire in the 8800 block of Plainfield Road. And I believe I have one item for discussion and action. And that is regarding the sale of surplus vehicles and equipment, and I'm sure Chief Magus cannot wait for me to get through this. Unfortunately, the SUV that was being used up until this time has suffered a significant engine failure. Taken for repairs last month due to check engine light and ongoing engine noise, but as the mechanic got further into it, it was determined complete repairs would be very costly. This was disappointing based upon the year of a vehicle of 2010, but it has had a history of mechanical issues over the years, which I can attest to as a neighbor. Every time I looked out, our chief had his head under the hood, trying to figure out how to get it started to take it to the repair shop. As such, it was determined that we would not repair the vehicle. This was based upon this estimated cost of the engine repairs, together with mechanical history and the history of rust and paint issues with this and other similar Ford vehicles. We also evaluated the potential resale value. Based upon all this, we need to designate the 2010 vehicle surplus, not soon enough. We will try to market it for the sale as is, potentially through direct competitive bidding, a vehicle auction site, or similar process. If unsuccessful, we will shop around for the best deal we can get through a salvage company. The following is information on the vehicle determined and the technical details. So the recommendation is to declare this vehicle surplus by approval of ordinance. And I will be making a motion to approve an ordinance. I think it's 1135. That's just part of our board packet, authorizing the sale of surplus property owned by the village of the Grange Park.
Motion to have second. Trustee Lautner, discussion?
My editorial comments probably indicate my support for this. It's unfortunate, only 10 years, but I understand the heavy duty on the short trips, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if nothing else, maybe Chicago Fire will be interested in this vehicle as well. But aside from that, I think it's time to get rid of it.
Thank you, Trustee Lautner. Trustee Council.
President DeCipio, I fully agree with Trustee Lautner. The old stuff has to go. Sorry to say it that way, but I think that every vehicle has served us well, and we never really don't hold on to things, and I guess we're fortunate to not have to hold on to, so many of our vehicles, but fortunately it's gotten us through a lot of, years of service. So I would concur with Trustee Lautner.
Thank you, Trustee Council. Trustee Seidel?
Thank you, Mr. President. I concur with my fellow trustees. Repairing it is definitely not worth it, so I am in full support of the new vehicle.
Thank you, Trustee Seidel. Trustee Zora?
I also support this. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Zora. Trustee Messick?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm in full support, agree with my fellow trustees. And I trust staff's evaluation. So let's move.
Thank you, trustee Messick.
And we'll support this.
Okay, Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes?
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Trustee Seidel?
Yes.
Trustee Council?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan.
Mr. President, as an add-on comment, I would like to express appreciation to Chief Magus and his staff for looking at ways in which to respond to the significant delay in the replacement vehicle to begin with. So I know they've done a lot of work trying to figure out the logistics of how to get through this time period. I think they've come up with a great solution. But thanks for the efforts in trying to bear through this thing and responding to the delay on the replacement.
Thank you, trustee Lautner. Moving on to Public Works Committee, I'm not sure, trustee Council, did somebody give that report? Is it trustee Lautner or trustee Messick who's given?
I can. It doesn't matter.
I don't have the report printed, and I don't have access to it online right now.
Who can do it? What trustee?
Trustee Zara said she would.
Trustee Zora, thank you.
Would like to report the Public Works for October 2020. The Village Brush Program continued the first full week of October with crews making multiple passes throughout town, collecting all brush piles put out by residents. This was the final scheduled pickup until spring of next year. Leaf season has officially begun. Public Works began on the west side of town with the center and east sides following in that order. Staff will go down each street picking up leaves with 2 guaranteed pickups in each section. Hopefully weather will cooperate to make a third. Public Works repaired 2 water leaks, including one water main break and 1 service line replacement. 2 fire hydrants were found to be functioning improperly and were replaced by staff. Both hydrants are fully operational and back in service. The fall tree planting program is now completed with over 70 trees planted. Staff has completed survey work for our street patching program by marking out sections of the street, which is tentatively scheduled for mid-November to start and be completed. The new off-street parking lot along Beach Avenue and 31st Street has been landscaped with a variety of plants, shrubs, and trees. To complete the project, water meters were read in sections number 1 and 15. Monthly bacterial samples were taken along with stage 2 samples. Various water and sewer work orders were completed along with resident tree concerns and general construction inquiries. Numerous water and sewer service calls were completed along with meter appointments and duly located. A number of street repairs were made and permanent patching will continue throughout the fall. Routine maintenance to the department fleet and equipment was performed, as well as police and fire vehicles. And that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Zora. There's 2 action items.
Sorry, there's 2 action items. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Both are for discussion and action. The first one is for the sewer lining project. The sewer lining project is necessary to improve and rehabilitate portions of the combination sewer system at various locations throughout the village. Inversion lining and all other appurtenant work is to be completed under the defined project specifications. Work will begin and finish before the end of the fiscal year. The village advertised and held a bid opening on November 10, 2020. 5 submittals were received. The bids varied from $205,355 to $312,370. This fiscal year, the village budgeted $200,000 in the sewer fund capital outlay 5-44-4-420 for sewer lining. Staff recommends approval of a contract with Visu Sewer of Illinois in the amount of $205,355 at the village board meeting tonight, and they are the low bidder. I'd like to make a motion to accept the bid proposal for Visu Sewer of Illinois for $205,355 to authorize the village manager to execute the contract document.
Second.
Do I have a second? Motion and a second. Discussion. Trustee Zora?
Yes. Our infrastructure is aging. We've discussed before. I mean, this is a good solution. It's more cost effective and it will prolong the life of our infrastructure. So I think we need to do this.
Thank you, Trustee Zora. Trustee Messick?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, this is something we've continually done under the supervision of Public Works, and it allows us to see, as Trustee Zora said, our infrastructure is aging in. It allows us to see what we need to fix and possibly get ahead of the big repairs. So I support it.
Thank you, Trustee Messick. Trustee Council?
Just the sheer magnitude of the project that would go into replacing sewer lines, I wholeheartedly support the agreement that you've come up with Visu Sewer. They've been around for a lot of years, and the name is very familiar, so I would concur with my fellow trustees.
Thank you, Trustee Council. Trustee Seidel?
Thank you, Mr. President. I also support this and concur with my fellow trustees. We have discussed this item before, and I am in full support.
Thank you, Trustee Seidel. And Trustee Lautner?
Thank you, Mr. President. Actually, just a couple clarifications. This is for the actual work of the engineering invoices that we approved as part of the consent agenda. That's for the one in the same area. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And the second point is, I actually don't recall Visual Sewer here. Is this a new vendor in the village? I guess maybe it just escaped me, but I don't recall. Have we used them in lots of other places in the village?
I know that we've used them in the past, not in the last few years. It was a different company. But Visu Sewer is a big Chicagoland outfit that does this for many municipalities. They're just one of the firms that are the big ones out there.
So it's been a while then. I guess that's why I don't recall. Have you personally interacted with them? Have you worked with them?
I have, yes.
Okay. Sounds good. I will support it then.
Thank you, Trustee Lautner. Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Trustee Seidel?
Yes.
Trustee Council?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. Continue, Trustee Zora, please.
Thank you. During the original membership within the GIS consortium, it was mentioned that communities must re-enter into new agreements for each calendar year with the service provider. Municipal GIS partners have supplied a new contract, a supplemental statement of work for the calendar year of 2021 with a not to exceed amount of $41,677. An amount of $50,000 is in the fiscal 2021 budget for GIS. Water distribution is $20,000, sewer O&M 20,000, motor fuel tax is 5,000, public works is 5,000 in the budget. In July of 2020, MGP met with the GISC executive board and agreed to keep their flat rates for 2021 due to their clients' financial challenges with COVID-19. MGP has also discounted each municipality 20% for October, November, and December to assist communities troubled with financial burdens. A few minor amendments to the original contract signed in August include a force majeure, which include epidemic, quarantine, stay-home order, or similar circumstances. By the analyst, service type will clarify what services can be delivered remotely. MGP continues its onboarding process. Onboarding consists of creating the base layer map, including address verification, converting CAD, water, and sewer atlases into a GIS platform, updating zoning maps, garbage collection, etc. Staff recommends re-entering into an agreement with municipal GIS partners as a service provider for GIS. I'd like to make a motion to approve an agreement with Municipal GIS Partners Incorporated and to authorize the village manager to execute the necessary documents.
That motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion, trustee Zora?
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess I want to ask, has everything been going well with them? I believe Western Springs also uses them, and we're kind of all tied together because of LTAC.
Yeah, so far it's been really wonderful. A lot of it's been behind the scenes just because they've been doing the build out of the system, but we've been working real well together. Our site analyst has been on every Friday. It's just been until recently where they're doing remote. But we're going to probably be going live the middle of January, where all the staff will be able to access it from their computers and be able to see all the things that they have done. So they're still in their 90-day build-out process. Again, these agreements, because they base upon their finances off a calendar year, that's why we're just up in these contracts now. We won't have to do these again until next December.
Okay. And I also think it's really positive that they're considering COVID and reducing their prices slightly and also holding their prices this calendar year. So I see no reason not to approve this.
Thank you, trustee Zora.
Just one, Mr. President, just
Yes.
one point of clarification.
Yes,
The Village of LaGrange is a member of the GIS consortium. Western Springs has internal GIS, and LTAC utilizes MGP, which is the firm that contracts with the GIS consortium. Just for that clarification for the group.
Thanks,
Thank
Julia.
you, Julia. Trustee Council?
Mute.
You're muted, Karen. That's in trustee 101, Karen.
We've all been there.
We've all been there. We took that course. Okay, let's go with trustee Seidel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I concur with Trustee Zora. It's definitely great when we can work with other communities, and I am in full support of it.
Thank you, trustee Seidel. Trustee Wadner?
Thank you, Mr. President. I also support this. I think it's been, well, it seems like it's a long time in coming. It's actually, I know it's a significant amount of work. I do have a side question for clarification for Kathy Keating. Is force majeure something we're adding to all of our contracts as they come up now, or are we going back and retrofitting? I actually haven't thought of that. What's going on with epidemic and everything else?
Most of our contracts already have force majeure language. It's been a while since I looked at the GIS contract, but we've beefed up the language to include quarantine and COVID-related force majeure issues. Generally, force majeure is any delay beyond the control of the contracting party, so it would have included the COVID type of things anyway, but we made it more specific.
Just be specific. Thank you. I support this. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, trustee Wadner. Trustee Messick?
Nothing to add that hasn't been said. I fully support it.
Thank you, trustee Messick. Okay, Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Wadner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Trustee Seidel?
Yes.
Trustee Council?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. And trustee Zora, thank you for filling in and taking over the
No
public.
problem. Thank you.
Moving on, Finance Committee, trustee Messick?
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me get to it. There's monthly report. Let me get it big enough where I can read it. All right, monthly report, financial update as of October 31st. Fiscal year to date, general fund revenue is at 54.1% of the annual budget and about $198,600 or 4.4% greater than the prior year. Property tax receipts are up $7,300 or 0.4% compared to the prior year. Other local taxes are higher by about $42,000 or 5.7% due primarily to sales tax, which is up 17.4% compared to the prior year. Telecommunication tax is down 21.2%. License revenue is down about $70,000 or 6.2% from the prior year, primarily due to postponement of vehicle and dog license sales in response to the coronavirus. Permit receipts are up 25% or about $35,000 compared to the prior year. Intergovernmental receipts are higher by about $46,000 or 4.3% compared to last year. Income tax receipts are down slightly, and PPRT has declined but has been more than offset by an increase in the state use tax. Charges for services are down about $46,000 or 19.6% due primarily to lower ambulance fee collections compared to last year. Fine revenue is over $18,000 or 23.3% higher than the prior year. Fines were increased in October of last year. Miscellaneous revenue is about $114,000 greater than last year due to the time of payment in lieu of taxes. Total general fund expenditures, excluding the transfer to the capital projects funds, are at 46.7% of the annual budget and about $41,500 or 1% greater than last year. All departments are within budget expectations. And that concludes the report. We do have items. I have to manipulate this without the iPad, so excuse me one moment. Next thing we do is we have a budget review presentation. The village's fiscal 21 budget was nearly complete when COVID-19 pandemic introduced enormous uncertainty into the process. The village immediately re-examined its revenue forecast and reduced several planned expenditures to accommodate an anticipated decline in resources. Due to the high degree of uncertainty at the time, it was decided the village board would review the budget after 3 months to determine if further modifications were needed due to the pandemic. The village board reviewed the budget in August and determined no modifications were required to review again in 3 months. So there we are. We're at 3 months. Staff will present a 6-month budget review this work session or this meeting. Presentation will include the major revenues performance to date compared to the budget prior years. We will review what measures the village has implemented in response to the pandemic and discuss recommendations. IML has also released the which was attached to our packet, revised forecast, which provides guidance regarding the state shared revenues. There is no action on this item, but so I throw it to Larry and Julia. Do you have further comment, presentation?
Thank you, Trustee Messick. This report is going to be very similar to what we did at the October review. Fortunately, revenues and expenditures are tracking pretty much what we saw in October. Unfortunately, I would say we're still pretty much in the same situation in terms of the pandemic right now. So we're 6 months into our 2021 budget. We're 8 months or greater into the global COVID-19 pandemic. We're at phase 4 of the Restore Illinois plan. Actually, I think it's specifically tier 3 at this point of the phase 4 Restore Illinois plan. But fortunately, I can say that at this point, our village financial resources remain strong. Next slide, please. So as we were saying, the pandemic hit during the budget process, or the FY21 budget process. That put a lot of uncertainty, as we talked about, into the process. We did implement some budget adjustments at that time. We immediately reviewed everything. At the time, the IML put out some guidance. We lowered some of our revenue projections based on that IML report, and also based on what we had seen during the Great Recession period. And we decided, the village board decided at that time that the best thing would be to proceed with the modified budget and come back in 3 months or 6 months into a budget review. We did the budget review in October, which was 3-month budget review, and tonight we're doing the 6-month budget review. Next slide. So as we talked about in October, the sales tax has been, the local sales tax has been quite strong. It's been probably most likely in terms of the pandemic, a lot of people are buying groceries and staples, and we see a lot of our sales tax from those type of items. And so we've seen sales tax actually go up about 17% compared to last year. In terms of the state shared revenues, those are the main one is the income tax. We also get the state use tax, which is sales tax for things like online sales. And those, the IML originally projected some decline in the income tax. They lowered their projections. Since then, they put out two revised estimates, and both of those have become more favorable to the point where they're almost near where they were at the original projection before the pandemic. We've seen the income tax go down and then recover. We're almost essentially flat compared to last year. State use tax has increased dramatically, actually, 29%. That's probably due to online sales. Telecom tax, as we've talked about many years, I'm not sure that it's really COVID-related any, but we've seen that decline a further 21%. But permit fees is another strong point. We've seen that go up 25% this year. So overall, in terms of those revenues, really better than what we expected. In terms of property tax, it was delayed. If you remember, Cook County put a delay on the late fees for property tax. That came in a little lower than budget at first, but we've seen that fully recover, so that's on track. Ambulance fees are below budget, and that looks to be due to several different types of issues. Trips seem to be about the same, but our payer mix has changed more to the Medicaid and Medicare side, which is lower payments. We've also probably seen some drop just in terms of a lag, as you can expect with everything going on right now. Insurance companies trying to get the process done. Fortunately, though, we did get some CARES Act money directly from the Health and Human Services Division, about $15,000, which will cover some of that loss of revenue. The other place that we've been in a little bit of a change from the vehicle stickers, as you'll recall, we did, the board chose to move that back into September, October, instead of the June, July renewal. That obviously caused a lag in us getting that type of revenue. But we still saw, even with the online sales and such, that we're still slightly below where we would expect after 2 months of vehicle sticker sales. And as such, we've put out additional reminders to people, specifically to some of the renewals, just try and help spur some of that revenue. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, the telecom tax, we've seen that continue to decline. The village has been awarded CARES Act money through Cook County of about $330,000. We did apply for that. We expect to receive that in the near future. And we will also be applying for some FEMA reimbursements, so that should add additional dollars to our budget. And on the expenditure side, the budget is tracking right where we expected. We did lower some budget projections when we did the budget originally. Everything seems to be on track with that. The village has experienced some COVID-related expenditures, but we expect to cover all those with the CARES Act money and the FEMA reimbursements. The next slide, please. Other than the general fund, we have the water and sewer funds. Again, those funds are both strong. There was increased water usage, most likely. 2 reasons for that. People are home, so that's going to cause more water usage. And then we had a dry summer, too. So, billed water is around 10%, so that went to strong revenue in those 2 funds. Our collection rate remains steady, as you may recall, as part of the COVID relief
The board did suspend late fees and shutoffs for 3 months. That did not really affect the revenue at all. We were able to collect the revenue that we would expect. The village has a very good payer base. People pay their bills on time in most cases, and so we don't have any concern there. Water main projects that we have scheduled this year remain, if not on budget, under budget. And one other place that we were able to do is the village board was able to extend the sewer backup program to more people this year by increasing the amount of funding available for that. Although we did have a very enthusiastic response and that funding was used up, we hope to have more available in the next budget year. Next slide, please. In the motor fuel tax, as you can expect, that funding source did see a decline because of lower gasoline usage with the pandemic. Fortunately, though, if you recall, the state did increase the motor fuel tax last year, and that has meant that although we had expected to see a little more revenue this year, the revenue is right on track where it was budgeted, actually, and better. It's just been actually better than it was last year by a little bit. So that fund is on track. We also are receiving additional dollars through the Rebuild Illinois grant program. We'll receive about $900,000 over 3 years. So we've received some of that money. So the motor fuel tax is strong, and kind of been waiting for taking over some of the repairs of our streets that we've been doing in terms of the bond funds as we've depleted those funds over the last 5 years. Next slide. And there's the Rebuild Illinois money I spoke about. In addition to the Rebuild Illinois money, we do have an expectation that there's money that's been awarded to the village, potentially almost $1 million on the state capital bill. Unfortunately, with the COVID situation, we just don't know what the status of those grants are. We're still waiting to hear from the state what's going to happen with those. So we're still hopeful that the village will be seeing that money in the near future. We just don't know how it's going to get here yet. Next slide, please. So where are we heading? We don't know what's going on with the pandemic. We're hopeful what's been said about the vaccines are going to be helpful soon, but I can pretty much project that for next year's budget and the rest of this budget, we're going to be dealing with the effects of COVID. So that's unlikely to end in terms of our impacting our budget anytime soon. The national election has been completed. We don't know how that's going to change things in terms of what funding might be coming our way or what new mandates might be coming down for us. So really, it's continued economic uncertainty. And I from my perspective, I would say that this year's budget is pretty on track. It's the next budget and probably the budget after that that's going to be more problematic as we see the state try to deal with the impacts of COVID on its budget and how that's going to affect state shared revenues. So probably that's where the challenges are going to be coming our way. And next slide. So I would say we don't need to make any adjustments to this year's budget at this time. We will continue to monitor as always. And what we will be doing is preparing for the effects of the pandemic to continue into the next budget. And that's going to be probably more difficult to project. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any trustees have any questions for Larry?
No questions, Mr. President. I thought it was very well presented.
As always, thank you, Larry.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Trustee Laudner?
Well, thank you, Mr. President. No questions, but just to extend appreciation to staff for continuing to stay focused on this important area. And boy, it's a moving target. I sure get that, but I think you are all doing everything that we can to stay focused as close to budget as we can, and see how this turns out. But I think looking at it every few months, as you have done, as we have done, I think is very important to just make sure that we're focused on during the budgetary responsibility that we've all signed up for. So thanks for Larry, you and your staff's efforts in continuing to put this together.
Thank you, Trustee Lautner. Any other trustees have any comments? Okay, Trustee Messick?
Yeah, I mean, the last comment I'd like to make is I echo Trustee Lautner's comments as far as I completely respect what Larry has to deal with, what all the staff does, Julie on up. And the next couple of years are kind of scary and dicey, and boy, the work is cut out, but I have every faith in the staff here because, as many know, I don't have a lot of faith in the state, and I think with their continued mismanagement, they're going to come after us harder. But we have always managed this as the village and as a staff, and I continue, even in challenges, I continue to expect, and I will, and I know we will get the excellent results and the fiscal management that we've had all along.
Thank you, Trustee Messick. Trustee Zora?
I commend staff for doing everything that they can for us during the pandemic, and I agree, looking at this every few months is all we can really do right now and try to plan for the unknown. So thank you, Larry.
And Trustee Seidel?
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank staff as well, and I concur with all the comments from my fellow trustees.
Thank you, Trustee Seidel. Trustee Council?
Larry, great job. I know that you're watching out for everything that's happening in our village, and I commend you for keeping us on track. And I really think that the budget reviews every so many months are very worthwhile, considering what we're going through with the pandemic right now. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Council. Yeah, thank you, Larry, for all that you do for us. And I think it's going to be important later on in the meeting when Trustee Lautner makes some comments. So keep that in mind as we go forward. Trustee Messick, you have anything else?
Yes, sir. We have one action item, one more. It's to consider approval of proposed 2020 property tax levy and bond abatement ordinances. This is rather lengthy, and we've been through it a couple times in recent meetings, but it is important. The village's annual property tax levy is restricted by the Illinois Property Tax Extension Limitation Law, or PTEL. PTEL limits the amount the village may increase the aggregate levy each year to the lesser of 5%, or the change in the Consumer Price Index, or CPI. The term aggregate levy is specifically defined by the Truth Taxation Law to include the corporate and special purpose levels and excludes levies for debt service. For the 2020 levy, the PTEL CPI changes 2.3% and therefore is the limiting factor. The PTEL authorized the village to collect additional taxes on new property value. We will not know the actual amount of the new value until well after the village's tax levy ordinance is due to the county. As such, an estimated increase of 2% of EAV, or estimated annual value, has been incorporated into the levy estimate calculation to ensure all potential new value is included. The county will reduce the village's actual extension to the amount allowed under the PTEL. The village board approved an estimated aggregate levy for 2020 at the October board meeting in the amount of $3,896,569, which is 4.4% above the 2019 extension of $3,733,634. The estimated aggregate levy is less than a 5% increase, therefore a public hearing is not required by the Truth Taxation Law. The 4.4% total increase includes a 2% new value estimate. It is important to note that for most residents, the actual increase in the village's aggregate property tax levy should be approximately the CPI amount of 2.3%. Unless directed otherwise, the county clerk will add 3% to the village's aggregate levy to offset uncollectible taxes. As has been done in the past, 2020 levy reduces the loss factor to 2% based on the village's collection history, except for debt service. This additional amount does not increase the total levy allowed under the PTEL. Four proposed ordinances are attached to this memo. The first ordinance authorizes the county clerk to extend the village's proposed 2020 property tax levy. Second, provides the county clerk's direction on how to reduce the village's 2020 property tax levy in the likely event that aggregate levy exceeds the PTEL allowed amount. As in the past, the village is directing the county clerk to apply any reduction due to PTEL to the corporate levy, general levy. This ensures a special purpose amount such as for police pension will be fully levied. Third ordinance is to abate the property tax levy for the 2014 sewer refunding bonds. The original bonds were issued in 2006 for sewer infrastructure projects. While the village pays for the bonds with sewer fee revenue, the bonds are backed by an annual property tax levy included in the bond ordinance. The village must direct the county clerk to abate this property tax each year to the bond, or the bond levy will be extended. The village's 2020 property tax levy will also include a debt service amount for the 2016 road and fire bonds approved by referendum. Debt service annual levy amounts were included in the bond ordinance already filed with the county. For the 2020, the debt service levy is $1,246,250. The actual bond levy extension will include a 5% loss factor to ensure adequate funds are available to pay the debt service. The fourth proposed ordinance abates a portion of the 2016 bond levy due to the 5% loss factor and interest income. The village currently has a projected fund balance in the debt service fund that is approximately $85,000 above the amount needed for paying principal and interest. As a result, the board may abate a portion of the 2016 bond levy. Staff is recommending an abatement amount of $50,000, which, along with the 2020 loss factor, will maintain a sufficient fund balance for potential property tax refunds. The village board reviewed the levy and tax abatement ordinance at the November 10th meeting and concurred to place the following motions for this meeting. So, staff recommends the village board consider approval of the ordinances at this meeting. So the action requested first is a motion to approve an ordinance providing for the annual tax levy for the village of Grange Park, Cook County, Illinois for the fiscal year beginning May 1st, 2020 and ending April 30th, 2021.
Second.
Do you want me to continue with the motions, Mr. President, or should we vote on it separately? Okay.
Can we do them all together or one at a time?
I believe they're supposed to be done one at a time, Jim.
Okay, so there's a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Trustee Messick, any comments?
This is pretty clear. It's something that's been discussed at prior meetings. I fully support it. It's our standard annual tax levy according to CPI.
Thank you, Trustee Messick. Any trustees have any other questions regarding this motion? Megan, call the roll, please.
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Laudner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Trustee Cordell?
Yes.
Trustee Council?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. Continue on, Trustee Messick.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. Second will be a motion to approve an ordinance providing for specific reduction of the 2020 property tax levy pursuant to the Property Tax Extension Limitation Law, or PTEL.
Motion and a second.
Second.
Second discussion. Anything, Trustee Messick?
Again, this is pretty standard. It has been discussed at length. Again, it's reductions in the levy pursuant to the property law. So I fully support this.
Thank you, Trustee Messick. Any comments for any trustees?
Just a clarification.
I'm sorry, Trustee Lautner?
Just a clarification. Is this the second year in a row that we've been able to, I'll say, enjoy this reduction?
Larry, any comments? Julia? No?
So this motion is for the reductions for the PTEL. And so we've done this historically for a long time. This is the one that basically tells the clerk to, if there's a reduction because of the PTEL, which there will be most likely, that we take it all out of the corporate fund so that everything else stays the same as what we're levying.
So it's the lesser of.
Excuse me?
The lesser of this one.
Yes.
The 5% or the CPI. Right.
Yes.
I would support, yeah.
Thank you, Trustee Lautner. Any other comments from any trustees? Seeing none, Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Trustee Seidel?
Yes.
Trustee Council?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. Continue on, Trustee Messick.
I thank you, Mr. President. And third is a motion to approve an ordinance abating the tax hereto levied for the year 2020 to pay the principal of and interest of $3,495,000, general obligation refunding bonds, alternative revenue source, Series 2014 of the Village of Grange Park, Cook County, Illinois.
Do I have a second?
Okay.
Second.
Second discussion, Trustee Messick.
Again, this has been discussed. This is actually returning money. Said here, it's an abatement for money that was overpaid. So I fully support it.
Thank you, Trustee Messick. Any comments from any trustees? Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Trustee Seidel?
Yes.
Trustee Council?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. Trustee Messick?
All right, thank you, Mr. President. Last motion, you guys are really making me work tonight. So we have a motion to approve an ordinance abating a portion of the taxes heretofore levied to the year 2020 to pay debt service on general obligation corporate purpose bond series 2016 of the Village of Grange Park, Cook County, Illinois.
Second? Motion second. Discussion, Trustee Messick? Anything to add?
Nothing to add. It was fully explained by Larry very well. I fully support this.
Thank you, Trustee Messick. Any comments from any trustees? Seeing none, Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Trustee Seidel?
Yes.
Trustee Council?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan.
And that concludes the Finance Committee.
Julia?
Mr. President, just a clarification point to Trustee Lautner's question earlier regarding one of the motions. The fourth motion included an action or an approach that we have taken on for the second year in a row, which was the ability to abate a portion of the bond levy due to the interest that we have earned with those bond proceeds.
Thank you, Julia. Okay, thank you, Trustee Messick. Moving on, Village Clerk, Megan?
I have no report, Mr. President.
Village Treasurer, Larry?
No report tonight, Mr. President.
Commercial Revitalization Committee, Trustee Zora, do you mind?
Sure, no problem.
Thank you.
I have a few items to report and then an item for discussion and action. The annual joint review board meeting for both the Village Market and 31st Street Barnsdale TIFs will be held virtually on Monday, December 14th. If you would like more information on the meetings or to review copies of the annual Illinois Comptroller reports, please visit lagrangepark.org under the Agenda Center. Improvements at the 31st Street Strip Mall continue. The public concrete walk was poured in October and was just recently sealed. Additional planned improvements include a new parking lot and striping, additional parking lot island, new landscaping throughout the parking lot, and a new monument sign to serve the strip mall. While the owner may wish to push the paving portion to the spring, staff is working on getting the barrier curb installed. Staff is focused on the curb installation as that will protect the Scam public walk during the winter months. The concrete contractor is scheduled to be on site next week. The village received applications for TIF and BDD incentives from Murphy's Automotive regarding water utility and upgrades and site improvements. All applications are currently under staff review. Staff has continued to work with the owner on getting all necessary permits submitted for construction scheduled for spring 2021. The Community Park District submitted an application for site plan review to renovate the northern tennis courts into a multi-use area, several pickleball courts, and a fitness court. The work will be almost entirely within the existing fenced area with landscaping work outside of the fence. The court will be divided into two sections, one for pickleball, the other for the fitness area. The Park District has partnered with a local fitness center, Strive for Fitness. In addition to providing a portion of the funding, the business owners have helped design the fitness area. Staff has begun preliminary review and will provide feedback soon. Once the review and the submittal is complete, it will go before the Planning and Zoning Commission. The Community Park District plans to break ground in the spring. So the item that I have for discussion and actions, over the last several months, the village has been working with Mike Engel regarding his plans for a building addition for his business, Murphy's Transmission and Complete Auto Repair, located at 1117 East 31st Street. The building addition will allow Mr. Engel to expand his business and broaden his customer base by providing mechanic services to larger vehicles and trucks. Mr. Engel has owned and operated his business in the Grange Park for nearly 20 years, and he wishes to remain in the current location to expand his business. In all, planned improvements include the construction of two building additions onto the existing structure, a new parking lot, a new perimeter, and park lot landscaping. The building addition will necessitate the installation of a sprinkler system and new water service lines. Due to the existing building site conditions, the current fire safety codes, the proposed improvements will require significant expense. Mr. Engel is requesting financial assistance from the village in order for the project to proceed due to the required improvements. Staff is consulting with the village's special TIF counsel, Kathleen Orr. Preliminarily, the improvements for which the applicant is requesting funding assistance are eligible in both TIF and BDD districts. Further review is required. If the village board is supportive of incentivizing the project utilizing BDD and or TIF dollars, it would be appropriate to consider the action resolution. Approval of this resolution would allow the buyer to incur costs which may be eligible for reimbursement in the event the village and the business owner successfully negotiate a redevelopment agreement at a future date. The purpose of this resolution is to acknowledge the village's conceptual approval of the proposed project, noting that any financial assistance is specifically contingent upon the village approving and executing a redevelopment agreement with the owner. Thus, because the village requires additional information in order to determine how much of an incentive will be appropriate, the resolution does not commit any amount to the owner. Rather, it is simply commits the village to negotiate a redevelopment agreement in good faith. Staff has had several conversations with the property owner in recent months regarding the reinvestment in this property. Staff believes that the two new building additions and the property site improvements will help stimulate commercial development in the area and enhance local commercial and economic vitality. Staff recommends approval of the attached resolution. I'd like to make a motion to approve a resolution of the Village of the Grange Park, Cook County, Illinois, to induce the redevelopment of certain property within a tax increment financing redevelopment project area and business district, Murphy's Transmission and Complete Auto Repair.
Second.
So as we've said before, we're very pro business expanding and staying in the village. And obviously we all know from all the other projects that have happened recently in the village that don't have water mains that support a sprinkler system nearby. It's very expensive. And we do require this in new businesses. So I don't have an issue with assisting. I mean, this is as the memo states, this is in good faith, and it is all pending the village and the owner can come to an agreement on what the amount would be. So I am in favor of this. I do have a question related to another property that came up this evening. If we provide assistance and we commit to it and the property is stagnant and it does not move forward, what happens to the money that was negotiated for that property?
I can go ahead and answer that. So if we have a redevelopment agreement in place with a developer or a business owner or a property owner, and there's no movement, a couple of things come to mind. First of all, our incentives are primarily performance-based or pay-as-you-go. So certain things within the agreement have to trigger the release of that funding. Typically, for our redevelopment agreement, we require proof that those expenditures have occurred. So we have one redevelopment agreement that is currently in process where the payments are being made. That was able to be processed through the finance department because they satisfied the redevelopment agreement, which required proof of those expenditures. So those expenditures have to take place, and the provisions of the redevelopment agreement have to have occurred in order for the processing of that reimbursement to move forward. So for the one business, I think you may be, Kathy Keating wants to add additional information, but so long as no money has been expended and they have not met the requirements, no payment will take place. Kathy, did you want to add something? I saw your hand go up.
Well, the other thing is, in all of the agreements, when we finally award either BDD funds or TIF funds, we always have time limits on it. So that if the development doesn't proceed on a certain timeline, the agreement expires. They have to come back to us and get an extension, or it's null and void.
Okay, all right, that's what I was wondering, if there's a time limit set.
Yes.
So the same would be for this agreement. You would negotiate and set a time limit. If the work was not completed, then the agreement just dissolves.
Correct.
That's right. There's at least a couple of timelines or factors that come into play. One is completion of the building permits, and another is completion of the work. Another is providing the proof necessary in order for the reimbursement to occur. So we have proof of expenditures. And then the last one would be time limits on the total amount of the incentive, or time limit for the number of years with which the incentive is in place, whichever is less, which is typically how we craft the agreements. Okay. So there's a few checkpoints to mitigate any risk associated with those payments.
All right. Thank you, both.
Thank you, Trustee Zora. Trustee Council?
I'm glad to see the expansion of Murphy's. I think that they're a stand-up business in our village, and we should be happy to help them along in this process. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Council. Trustee Seidel?
Thank you, Mr. President. I concur with Trustee Council. They are a wonderful business that has been here for many years, and we try to retain our businesses, so I'm in full support of incentivizing them the way we can.
Thank you, Trustee Seidel. Trustee Lautner?
Thank you, Mr. President. I concur with my fellow trustees on this one, that it's been a long-term business in town, and we should work toward trying to help them advance their business model, and I fully support it.
Thank you, Trustee Lautner. Trustee Messick?
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, I concur with my fellow trustees. I just wanted to say that the reason we set these things up, the BDDs and the TIFs, great business in town, has been a loyal if not a resident of town, a loyal business in town with a big following for a long time. Asset to the community, but I mean, this is what we set these things up for, to help businesses to expand and really increase the benefits to the community and the revenue. So I'm full support.
Thank you, Trustee Messick. Megan, call the roll. Megan?
She might be frozen, Mr. President. Trustee Messick? Yep.
There she is.
You guys hear me? Can you guys hear me now?
Now we
Okay,
can.
sorry. Yes. Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I think I'm, okay. Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Trustee Seidel?
Yes.
Trustee Council?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Trustee Zora, for taking over that report.
No problem.
Okay, Village Engineer, Mark, any comments?
No report tonight, Mr. President.
Kathy, our Village Attorney?
No report, Mr. President.
Committee and Collectors report, so we'll take a roll call. Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Did I miss the motion?
The motion
Oh, yeah.
is to approve Committee and Collectors reports. I thought I said it. I'm sorry. We got a sergeant of arms now, I guess, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm lost. Where are we at?
The motion and the second.
And seconded, and we have two that have voted yes, I think.
Yes. Motion and second, 3 yeses.
All right. Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Trustee Seidel?
Yes.
Trustee Council?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. That was fun. Okay, moving on. My report. I have a couple items. One, Trustee Council, congratulations. Welcome. We look forward to working with you. Trustee Messick, this is your last meeting, dude.
My last meeting, sir.
And thank you for all that you've given our community, and good luck where you're at.
Well, thank you, and I will miss you all. It's been my sincere privilege to work with every trustee here, to serve with every trustee here for the time I have, because I think we all work for the right reasons, and I was blessed to be part of that. And I thank the people of Grange Park for electing me for that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Messick. It's almost like you want another cake.
No. We're done with that. We're done.
And the last two other things. One is if everybody could just keep the Casera family in their prayers and thoughts. Jim lost his father the other day, and that's why he's not with us tonight. So just keep your family in their thoughts and prayers. And the last thing is just everyone have a great, happy Thanksgiving, safe, healthy. It'll probably be a little different for all of us, but it's what we need to do. So I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Public participation of non-agenda related items. Anyone care to address the board? Seeing none, we'll move on to new business. Anyone have any new business, Trustee Lautner?
Yes, Mr. President, and thank you. Just a couple of comments to actually throw out to the board. After the audit review, you may recall that there were a couple of questions that came up, and I, for one, was surprised about the funding percentage on the police pension that, since our previous report, I believe, had dropped from 56% to 50%, and which led me to kind of try to understand that better. And as a follow-up to that, I raised some questions to Julia and staff, and I know that in fact they are actually working on a trustee inquiry response. questions, but in addition to that, as I thought more about the, I was surprised, and I know at least a couple others were surprised about that, what appeared to be a fairly significant reduction. And of course, it's easy to understand, at least on the surface, that the drop, given the current set of conditions that are going on and the pandemic and market performance, which, by the way, is starting obviously to improve and has been improving. But at the timing of the report, I know the most, probably the highest visible response was that, well, market conditions and just not performing. But I don't know, I guess I was uncomfortable in just accepting that as the only explanation. I understand how significant that is, but I guess the follow-on to that was, well, I feel like I need to understand it as well as I can. Number one, as just being such a critical part of, I think, our board function and of course staff function, and talking about the lives of our public safety folks here with the police department. And rather than just say, okay, well, it's market performance and it's going to come back, and I know that's typically the response, I felt that maybe we need to have an opportunity to make sure that me at a minimum and anybody else that's interested to understand it as thoroughly as we can. What are options? Are we doing everything that we can to improve that? I know we're looking at a 2040 legal requirement as it sits right now to reach, 90% funding or thereabouts. And rather than say, okay, well, the market's going to turn around and it's going to start improving, is there anything that we can or should be doing? And what happens then? What are our options? And obviously, you start thinking about, well, sure, yeah, you can put more money into it, and is the balance correct? Is the portfolio balance correct? And we have very smart people, not the least of which is the folks that we've hired to do the reporting of this, that are involved in this. And my thoughts were not that anybody's not doing their job. It's are we giving it the appropriate amount of focus and attention that we need to? So I guess with that being said, where I am on this, I know a trustee response a trustee inquiry response is coming, but I wanted to throw this out to the rest of the board and determine, is there anybody else that kind of feels the same way? I know as the head of the Public Safety Committee, it's kind of, I'll say one of my key responsibilities, of course, but are there others on the board that feel it important enough or appropriate enough, I should say, to involve the rest of the board for a follow-on session, to look deeper, to make sure there's a deep understanding of looking at alternatives? What happens if the market performance does not actually, return? So that's where I am in it. I just wanted to throw it out for discussion and feedback and thoughts from the rest of the board.
Any trustees want to? Let me just carry that a minute then for Trustee Lautner. We communicated about this a couple times. The biggest thing is that understanding what's going on with the pension and understanding how we got here and where we're going and what safety valves do we have to ensure that we contribute what we're supposed to contribute and we don't fall behind. And I got to say, we've got so many people looking at this. We've got the pension boards looking at it, Larry's looking at it, Julie's looking at it, everybody's looking at this thing. And I'm not an accountant. I'm not an intelligent guy where I can understand everything that's going on there, but I should understand most of it. So if anyone else is interested or would like to have another presentation or clarification or time spent with Jason and Larry
Franken,
we can certainly do that at another board meeting. We can wait 3 months like we did with the budget and see where we're at and see what effect that may have on the pension. it's up in the air, so whatever the trustees would like to do, I'm in favor of, if anything. Trustee Zora, your thoughts?
I am also not a numbers person, but I mean, if they recommend us either putting more money in now, or I mean, I don't know. I follow what they recommend because that's not my background and my profession. So I guess if there's consensus with the board, that's fine with me. But I just go with what they recommend because they're the professionals and they have the background and understanding that I do.
Great, great comment. I don't think it's a question of what the recommendation is, Trustee Lautner, correct? It's more of understanding where we're going and where we're at.
And the discussion as to are we as collectively as the people that are focused on this doing everything that we can or should do to ensure that we're moving in the right direction, because I get concerned that we're not moving in the right direction. And I know there's a lot that goes into that. There's different assumptions and there's different, obviously the market performance, and there's different things that go into that. I just want to make sure that beyond the understanding of it is that we're doing everything that we appropriately can in a fiduciarily responsible mindset for this aspect of our obligation.
And I agree. I need to understand it better too. I don't have any concern about what we're doing because of the scope of people and the professionalism and intelligence of the people that are oversighting the pension fund. So I think it's more of an understanding that I need to grasp rather than I'm not comfortable with the direction we're going or taking. Yes, Trustee Chief Contois.
So not to speak out of line here, as a member of the pension board, I think there's a lot of uncertainty with the whole consolidation process. And one of the big things or pushes for the consolidation statewide was that there would be a decrease in municipal contributions. So to answer your question, Trustee Lautner, we really don't know the direction yet because we're kind of in a holding pattern with all of this. And the pandemic has, made the process a little longer than it should have been. So Larry can probably, fill you in a little bit more on that. I do know that Jason Franklin would be more than willing to, present at another board meeting in the future to address some of your concerns.
Thank you, Chief. Trustee Messick.
I said I have concerns about it only because we're falling behind based on numbers, not that we're not doing everything we can. Actually, I feel as a board, if we could have, as a village, if we could have, we'd fund it 100%. But the numbers are tricky, and as Trustee Lautner was saying, market exploitation. But we have to learn more as we come out of the pandemic and where things go. We have done the best we can for the police board, as well as our residents. And I think we will down the road, but it's just a tricky slope. We don't know what the state's going to throw at us. That's going to be the next trick. So this consolidation, too, also. So I have concerns, but I think we've done our best, and we just have to see what's coming next in the state.
Thank you, Trustee Messick. Trustee Seidel?
Thank you, Mr. President. I think timing's a big factor, so time will tell with this. I concur with the comments of my fellow trustees. Whatever makes them feel comfortable, I'm in agreement with. I think I'm sure we will hear more, and I look forward to hearing and reading the trustee inquiry and further comments from staff and seeing where we go from there. So, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Seidel. Trustee Council?
What one of the concerns that I had was to see the downward trend, as Trustee Lautner has mentioned. I'm not saying that I'm questioning what our board is doing to maintain the funding. My concern is to see a downward trend. I would hate to see it continue in a downward trend. And being new to the board, I'd like a little more information about it, if it's possible. I just, I would have to agree with Trustee Messick. If we could fund it at 100%, I would be all on board with that. Knowing that we can, I still would like to see it not trending downward. So that's my comment.
Thank you, Trustee Council. So whatever the flavor of the board is, yes, Trustee Zora.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, as the chief mentioned, the state is talking about consolidating. So even if we could fund this 100%, we wouldn't, because the state may just decided to consolidate and put all the pensions together, which would totally throw all of our money away. So I think we need to remember that, and we can't overfund this because we don't know what's going to happen. So even if there is a decline in where we currently are, I don't think that we can make a move on this immediately. And if this is just an educational issue, I'm fine with them discussing this with us again, but I don't think we should jump the gun and talk about overfunding this because the state could just take everything.
Thank you, Trustee Zora. Larry,
Probably need to clarify that a little bit.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify one thing. I've heard it a couple times now about the 100%. So the state law is that pension funds should be doing their contributions to plan for a 90% funding by 2040. That's the state law. The village has a funding policy in place that was put in place in 2015 when we were going through the GASB 6768 plan. We actually had a committee at that time based of 2 village board members and 2 pension board members. And that funding plan does use 100% funding by 2040. Slightly different assumptions, better assumptions than the state does. So I just wanted to clarify that the village has been funding at 100% funding, and we've made the contributions that are required by that plan every year. So doing better than state mandated.
And Mr. President, the consolidation under the new law is the consolidation of the investment portion of the pensions. The local control, the control will still be with the locale. It's just the investment portion, the money will be aggregated together for the purposes of investment and greater rates of return, with where presumably greater rates of return on those investments, better performance will reduce the annual contribution that makes up for the total contribution. So the contribution, the growth in these funds come from just 3 areas: the employee contribution, the village contribution, and the return on investments. Those are the 3 areas that make up the condition of those funds. So I just wanted to make that clarification.
Any other comments from any other trustees? Anyone? Trustee Lautner, do you have another comment?
No, just, well, I guess I do have a question is, picking up on Chief Contoy's comments, do we have any idea as to a time frame, a season, a half a year time? And of course, I understand with everything that's going on, it's a moving target, but just no idea as to when it might happen.
What might happen?
Consolidation.
No, they initially said 30 months from when the when the bill was signed into place, but I think that they've extended that since then.
I think it's first quarter 2022 is the target date for the consolidation of the funds. Right. So I think it really depends on the progress of the governing boards, the permanent governing boards. Right now they have a transition team overseeing these processes, and they're in the process of getting the board that oversees these into place, that will be seeing this through the remaining of the transition through the governance of the investment funds, the permanent governing board in place. So everything is still very much in a transition, but and I know that the Article 4 pensions, the fire pensions, are further along in their progress, but I think the police pension is, Article 3 is making sufficient progress now. I have no reason to believe that the progress will be halted, although I think COVID does create some logistical issues with the groups moving forward and getting together and evaluating the candidates.
Well, you know, I'm thinking out loud here a little bit, but one thought maybe that I call a public safety committee meeting with the police pension board, with Jason Franklin, for the purpose of going through this, and then invite any of the other board members that would like to be invited or included. I'm just throwing that out as an idea. I mean,
Julia, are we still doing a trustee inquiry if we go down this path, or, I mean, time-wise and staff time-wise, what is the best solution here?
So Larry and I met with Jason Franken to go over the concerns that Trustee Lautner shared with me, and he is going to prepare some context to the question and provide some responses for us during the week following Thanksgiving, so next week. So he has some commitments that he has to see through before he can get to those responses. So Larry and I will take a look at that, make sure that they're all in good order, and send it out to the board. In terms of a presentation before the board, I would have to check with Jason to see what his availability is for that type of presentation, if that's the direction that we go. And I'm not sure what the timeline would be for that particular portion. But the trustee inquiry will be coming back to the board, I anticipate, next week. We just want to make sure it's reviewed and in good order.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, Julia. So we have a couple options. We can hold out a little bit, wait till the trustee inquiry comes out, and then see if we want to get together as a board and hear another presentation. Trustee Lautner, is that okay with you?
I think that's a good approach.
Okay, so we'll wait for the trustee inquiry, and then the board will decide whether they would like to have a presentation after that, maybe in January or February. Okay. Right. Thank you, Trustee Lautner, for bringing this forward.
And thanks everyone for the perspective.
Okay, any other new business? Seeing none, I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving again, safe, and motion to adjourn. Oh, yes.
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Is everybody waving because they want to talk, or what?
Just a happy Thanksgiving.
Okay, we need a roll call.
Give her a second or two.
Yeah. I need the second. Who seconded the motion?
I need a second.
Aaron.
I'll be the second.
Okay.
Trustee Mess?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Trustee Seidel?
Yes.
Trustee?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, I think Megan froze up again. Did everybody freeze again?
Are we have a test? We're done? Okay,
Sorry,
everybody have a Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. Yeah, I'm back.